Hey guys, today on Common Sense, I'm sitting down with financial expert Rose Wolverton. So, Rose, how long have you been working in the financial world?
Well, I started at a small bank in Trussville in 1986.
Wow. Was it always something you knew you wanted to do?
No, this one just fell in my lap. I had no idea that I would love it so much.
Okay.
Um, I taught school before in my other life. And so when we moved to Alabama, we got transferred with my husband's work. And I applied for my teaching certificate. While waiting on that, I'm not one to sit around, so I wanted to do something. And a friend of mine told me about a position open at a small bank in Trussville. So I thought, well, I've not ever thought about going into banking or that business world, but I may give it a shot. So I went for the interview and got the job. And I stayed at that job for about 24 years. So I
Wow.
just fell in love with it.
So, you were waiting to be a teacher and then fell in love with something new.
Yes.
About the work did you fall in love with?
Well, it was new, it was challenging for one thing, but then just working with customers, different people every day who have different maybe problems or issues or things that they need help with. So it's something new and different, plus getting to know people that some of them kind of become like family, where they're in pretty often. And it's just, I think that was the main thing. It was just something new and challenging, and then getting to know different people.
Mm-hmm. So, what at Hometown do you consider yourself to be an expert in?
Well, the main thing, or the majority of things that I've done since I've been in banking, not just at Hometown, was with new accounts, checking, savings, CDs, IRAs. So, spending the majority of my time doing that, I just feel like I'm able to help people make decisions about what they need. And sometimes people they think they need something and they don't really need that. So we just kind of help, walk them through that journey of what they need and what they don't.
Is it ever challenging to guide them towards something different than they came in thinking that they may need?
It really is, because in their mind, they've already made up their mind about what they want, and you might see something different that they really need, not just what they think they want. So sometimes that can be a challenge.
I'm sure then it's rewarding on the flip side when you have shown someone that they could
Yes, it
benefit.
really is, and they get excited about that too if they've learned something new, and so yeah, it's very rewarding.
Do you have kind of a most common scenario where, say, someone comes in thinking they want a certain type of account, but you're aware that they could benefit from something else? Is there a case where that happens most often?
Probably so, but I think most often is people think they need many different accounts. They want one for this reason, then they want another one for something else, then another one. And you can get too many of those, where they're trying to separate their money. And so sometimes that's really more of a challenge, is they think they need so many different accounts and it just gets too much to handle for them.
I wonder if people think they need that to kind of stash money in different places, if it's a kind of an overarching savings goal. Do you
I think
think?
that's it. I think that's it. But you can get, there's ways to save and not get so many things to handle and have to keep up with that you end up not really saving, in the end.
What would be a tip that you had for saving versus putting your money in multiple baskets? What is maybe a simplified savings tip?
Well, I think if you have one, and if you want like a vacation account, I think that's good. But just right off, when you get paid, just right then put some money aside. And if you really just use it for something specific or have that in mind, something else may come up that you really need it for. So then you don't feel like I'm taking my money from this, but I really need it from this. So if you just try to keep it simple, that's what I think. Just keep it simple. Save some right off the top, and for emergencies, because they will come up. And so I think that's the best thing. Just try to keep it simple.
What is one financial lesson, because you just touched on a great one, that you've implemented implemented in your own life or with your own family that you have found to be most beneficial?
We've tried to encourage our children and ourselves to save. We went through a time in our married lives, young married lives, that we didn't do that. And then when you don't save and you have something come up, I think you make bad financial decisions when you don't have something saved up, and you end up maybe getting more loans or higher rate, or you kind of make those bad decisions when you don't have a little socked away. So I think that's the main thing, is just save a little.
Is that something that you've handed down to your kids? And do you think they're aware of how important saving is?
Yes, they have. We've talked about that when they first started their checking accounts, to open a savings, and we would help them do that. And when they were little, we would put some money in an envelope, and then they would have little chores to do. And so if they did their chores, then we would add money to the envelope. But if they didn't do them, then we would take it out of their envelope. So we did that for a specific time. So it was fun for them to see it grow, and encourage them to want to do their chores and do things around the house to help.
And having it physically there or
Right.
not there, it's probably
Where
a
they can see
powerful
it.
reminder.
Yes.
So, as you lead into a stage of potential retirement, what have you done for you personally or for your family that has kind of prepared you for that financial stage?
Number one, I think I've worked really hard. When you think about retiring when you're in your 30s, you think that is so far away. But as you get older, and it seems like time just goes by faster, all of a sudden one day you're like, oh my goodness, I'm really close now. So I think just hard work ethic and just treating people like you want to be treated. When somebody's at my desk, I like to try to think about what they're going through if I was in their situation. So I think just walking in someone else's shoes, so to speak. Sometimes we can get judgmental, and you think, well, how did that person get in this, situation they're in? But if you think about it, it could be us, that could be me. So I think putting myself in other people's shoes and trying to look at things from their perspective, I think will help you have friends, will help people want to come back to your bank, and just be kind to people.
And when you think about entering the journey of retirement, what do you foresee as kind of the legacy that you can leave to other bankers or this community? What do you hope that you've instilled in their work day to day?
I would like for people to think of me as someone who treats people kind, who treats people like they want to be treated, and to always just put others first. Kind of think of others and not think of yourself. Mm-hmm. Just work hard, and things don't always go as we plan. Just kind of be flexible. And then one day, when you start to get to the end of your journey where you think about retirement, just think about the people that you've met along the way, and it just kind of makes it kind of sweet.
Okay, let's say you have an unexpected $1,000. Mm-hmm. Do you save it, spend it, or invest it?
I would say I would save it. Just right off the top of my head, I would save it. Mm-hmm.
What if, let's just play for a minute. Let's say your emergency fund, your savings fund is just full to the brim, and you had to spend it. Do you know what you would spend it on?
I have a couple of things in mind. We help support a couple of people who are doing some good things overseas that we met. So, and then we have friends that have do marriage counseling. It's a nonprofit that all their money is raised from friends and family. Mm-hmm. So I would give it away.
We've had some people talk about the importance of prioritizing giving in a budget as well as saving or, covering your basic needs, etc. Do you have a go-to amount that you would suggest coming out of a giving budget, or, do you have a rule of thumb for that?
We kind of do our 10%. So we give some to our church and then some to these organizations and that we help support. So that's kind of if we go over some, that's fine, but that's kind of the goal we've set, at least that much.
Do you have any go-to or favorite financial resources that have helped you, whether it's books or programs, budget cheat sheets? Do you have anything like that you would use?
Well, years ago, we first started realizing that, we've got to get a handle on our finances. We need to start saving, spending less. We went through Dave Ramsey's Financial Peace University at our church. And so that was kind of got us going in the right track. And so really good advice.
And that's sort of a debt-focused, pay off debt forward program, I believe, right?
Right. Pay off debt and savings, emergency savings funds. Mm-hmm.
And then if you've got a handle on that, I'm just thinking more like how a millennial might start with dealing with kind of financial literacy. If you've got a handle on debt, you've got a decent savings plan, what is the next thing to do aside from maintain, aside from keep prioritizing those things? Is there something else that a person can do to be smarter about money?
Well, I think sometimes we don't watch, you got your savings and where you're spending the rest of your money. You're focused on savings and you've got some that you're giving, but could you give more or could you save more? I think sometimes we swipe that card and we don't realize, how much we're spending. That happened with my son a few years ago. He just couldn't figure out where his money was going. And I said, well, if you will let me, I'll get look at your account, go back 2 or 3 months and look. And when I showed him how much he was spending out eating and that kind of thing, he was amazed. So I think we just don't think about that. We swipe the card and we just don't think about where that's going when it's just easy to do and easy to get out of hand.
And it can be, I think, a hard practice to stay conscious of that, but it's really kind of a lifestyle change to stay conscious about where your money is going.
It is. And it's easy. It's easy to watch it these days, too. We have our mobile apps and online banking, so that's easy to check and, kind of keep a handle on things, too.
Yeah, there's no excuse. We shouldn't know where it's going. Well, what is one money tip or piece of parting advice? I know you've sprinkled a lot through this talk, but what is something that you would share today that our listeners and viewers can really use anytime or as soon as possible to get a little bit better understanding about money?
Well, I think just to put it all together, we spend some, save some, give some away. That's just what we like to do with our family. When you just focus on yourself sometimes, I think that kind of gets, it's kind of boring actually, So if you can save some and give some away to good organizations, people that are doing good things around the world, I think that just helps everybody.
Mm-hmm. And that touches on being aware of what's happening in the community and kind of staying up to date on things like that. Right. Mm-hmm. Well, Rose, thank you so much for being with us today. Okay. I really appreciate it. And we'll see you guys next time.